ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. So far we have seen the negation of three koshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya and Manomaya. Now we come to the fourth one, Vijnanamaya kosha. So that is verse number 184. Buddhir buddhendriyai sardham savritti kartri lakshanaha Vijnanamaya kosha syat pumsa samsara karanam. So what is this Vijnanamaya kosha? Vijnanamaya kosha consists of the buddhi and buddhendriyai sardham, and with the senses of knowledge. Savritti kartri lakshanam, and it has the nature of doership, karta. Now, Vijnanamaya, Manomaya kosha also was mind plus senses of knowledge. Vijnanamaya kosha also is senses of knowledge plus the intellect. Senses of knowledge are common to both the koshas. And we should not forget that this subtle body is one. For the purpose of our understanding, we are making this distinction between mind and the intellect. So mind is seat of emotions, intellect is rational thoughts, logic, decision making, etc. So this division is only for the sake of proper understanding. So one should not say, why is this senses in both the koshas? They are in both the koshas because without the senses, the mind will not be able to perceive anything. And this, whatever is perceived by the mind, the decisions, etc. are made by the buddhi. Karta bhav is in the buddhi, values are in the buddhi. Hence, this distinction is made only for that purpose. So they will be in both. Jnana indriya is in both. So buddhi, buddhi indriya sardham, savrittihi kartri lakshanaha. Now this is a unique feature of Vijnanamaya kosha because that is there only in the human being. Till Manomaya kosha, it is there even in the plants, in the birds, in the animals. Vijnanamaya only in the human being. So self-awareness, what we say, that one is aware that I am a man consciously, not instinctively. Other creatures know instinctively, but man knows it consciously. So the human being, that's why can evolve consciously and speed up the evolution also. And the human being has a sense of self-worth. So kartri lakshanaha, Vijnanamaya koshasya. This is called Vijnanamaya kosha. And what is this? Pumsa samsara karanam. For a human being, this is the cause of transmigration. Here samsara means transmigration, birth and death. Because I am the karta, I am only the bhokta. So that jiva bhav when I have, then as a jiva, one has to go through karma and karma phala. And one is caught in that cycle because to exhaust karma phalas, we need body. In same body, we cannot exhaust all of them. So new bodies one keeps taking, and in that one does new karmas which keep adding to the bundle of karma. So as long as I have a sense of doership, karma applies to me. When the sense of doership is not there, that karma doesn't apply to me. Like a Jivan Mukta acts, but no karma is added to their account because all the actions are done without ego and egocentric desires. So though actions are happening, karma is not there. The example given for that is the fish that swims in water, does not leave any trace behind. Bird that flies in the air does not leave any trace behind. So one cannot follow. But when we walk on sand, then we leave the trace behind. So same way, karma is like that. When karta bhav is there, then the karta is the bhokta. But when karta bhav is not there, even though karma is happening, that karma does not bind the person. And hence it is that this Vijnanamaya Kosha is the cause of bondage. And actually Vijnanamaya Kosha only will become the cause of liberation also. Because through discrimination, Vivek, Atma, Anatma Vivek, Dharma, Dharma Vivek, through that one will distinguish that what is true I and what is not me. And of course meditate and realize that self. So all that is possible through the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So it is one more layer which is close to the Atma. Buddhir Buddhindriya Sadham. Now this is elaborated. So this was only the description of Vijnanamaya Kosha. Now elaborated a little more that what are the specialities of this kosha. Anuvrajachit pratibimba shaktihi vijnana sanya prakritir vikaraha jnana kriyavan ahamityajasram dehendriyadishva abhimanyate bhrisham. So in this third line, jnana kriyavan ahamiti ajasram, the last alphabet should be sa, half ra and anuswar, sram. In my book there is something else, so we have made a correction. So in case your book has that mistake, then you can change. The last alphabet is only sram, there's nothing after that. So anuvraja chit pratibimba shaktihi, along with this, accompanied by this reflection of consciousness, pratibimba shakti. Pratibimba is reflection. So this Vijnanamaya Kosha has the speciality of, so it has the ability of reflecting consciousness. So example if we give, so when we see, so the face is here. Now where is the reflection of the face? Reflection of the face is everywhere. But in a mirror specifically we can see it, because it is polished and it has that special ability to reflect as it is. We may be able to see even on a metal surface that is shining, on some other places also, but it will not be as clear as the mirror. On wood, etc., we can't see. The reflection is always, everywhere. But only the medium, a specific medium is required to see. Another example is the cell phone. The cell phone radiations and the waves are everywhere, but only the instrument will catch it. So in the same way, truth is all pervasive. Pure consciousness is everywhere. But this Vijnanamaya Kosha has a special ability to reflect this pure consciousness and that which is jada, which is inert. Because it says Vijnana Sanya Prakritir Vikaraha. It is by itself inert, made up of 5 elements. Prakritir Vikaraha. It is changeable, modifying. Because buddhi, mind and intellect both are made up of 5 subtle elements. If you remember earlier, we have done that. It is made up of 5 subtle elements which then grossify, become 5 gross elements, and those gross elements make our body. So body is made up of gross 5 elements, mind and intellect made up of subtle 5 elements. But what is the difference? It appears that the mind and intellect have their own capability and body doesn't have its own capability. But why does it appear like that? The mind and intellect are reflecting consciousness, so they appear alive. By themselves, they are also inert. They don't have life. So pure consciousness reflecting in mind and intellect is called reflected consciousness. This also we have done earlier. It is called Chidabhas. So this reflected consciousness, this intellect has this capability. Vijnanamaya Kosha has the capability of reflecting consciousness. That further identifies with the body and the sense of I is born. So Anuvrajachit Pratibimba Shakti. Vijnana Sanya Prakritir Vikara. So by itself, this mind and intellect cannot feel, cannot think, cannot do anything, because it is just like any other inert, in an inert thing. But when this consciousness reflects in it, enlivens it, like the bulb by itself cannot give any light, but only when electricity passes, then the light comes. So the bulb is as though enlivened by this electricity. In the same way, this buddhi and mind is enlivened by this pure consciousness. Then that is how we feel. And because of human buddhi, especially, the sense of I is there. Conscious sense of I is there. Because Manomaya Kosha is there in the other creatures. So consciousness reflects in Manomaya Kosha, which further identifies with the body, and so they also have a sense, they also are alive. So this Manomaya Kosha is there in the other creatures. So the mind has that, mind is enlivened, and they are then further identified with the body, so the body becomes enlivened. But Vijnanamaya Kosha is not there. So the conscious sense of individuality and then the ability to rise above that through discrimination to know my true self, that is not there in the other creatures. That is only in the human being. So Vijnana Sanya Prakritir Vikara. Jnana Kriyavan Aham iti Ajasram. So what will this Chit Pratibimba Shakti do? This reflection of consciousness empowers the buddhi to have knowledge, jnana. Kriyavan makes the body active. So it can obtain knowledge, it can make the body active. Aham iti. And one has the sense of I. Aham iti ajasram. Dehendriyadishu abhimanyate bhrisham. And because of that, one thinks of oneself also as this individuality. That I am this body, these senses. Dehendriyadishu abhimanyate bhrisham. Falsely one thinks that I am this body. So this sense of jiva, sense of limitation, so it has both aspects. One aspect is that without this Vijnanamaya Kosha, the self-awareness will not be there that I am this jiva. But at the same time, that is the cause of bondage. When I don't know who am I, so I have to use this Vijnanamaya Kosha for vivek and get out of this false notion. By default, Vijnanamaya Kosha is identifying with the mind, senses, body, etc., and having the sense of individuality. That is there in all the human beings. But few people actually awaken that vivek, that I am not this, this is only equipment, this is by itself an inert equipment. Body, mind, intellect made up of 5 inert elements. I am something else. So that clarity comes through satsang and through vivek. Otherwise, this anuvrajat means one keeps going round and round. There's one meaning. Anu means continuous. So anuvrajat, because of this, the transmigration happens. What was said earlier, samsara karanam. So this Vijnanamaya Kosha is this special ability of the buddhi to reflect consciousness. Now the example of reflection is like how we see different pots of water which are kept there down on the ground. Reflection of the sun will be in each pot. But the quality of reflection is governed by the quality of water. The sun is the same. So different people, their quality of the thoughts, the purity and the impurity of the mind determines how this reflection of consciousness is. If the mind is pure, intellect is pure, then that reflection of consciousness is brilliant. That person is then called a master, realized person, whatever it is. So the Vijnanamaya Kosha determines the personality of that jiva, the quality of that jiva. Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, the temperament of the jiva in terms of what is the main predominant quality, and hence that is the Swadharma of that jiva. According to that, one takes up a profession. So Vijnanamaya Kosha plays a very big role. But in this context, we have to understand also that when we are doing Atma Anatma Vivek, then Vijnanamaya Kosha is not the Atma. It appears to us that Vijnanamaya Kosha is the Atma. Why? Because the sense of I is felt in this Vijnanamaya Kosha because of its ability to reflect consciousness. So this is about Vijnanamaya Kosha and how this is a unique aspect in human personality, which makes the person consciously aware, at the same time binds the person and also has the ability to, through Vivek, to liberate the person. Atma is a witness of all this that is happening. So now, having said that, we move on. Anadikalo yamaham svabhavaha jiva samastavyavahara vodha karoti karmanyapi purva vasanaha punyanya punyani cha tatphalani bhungte vichitra swapiyoni shuvrajan ayati niryantyadha urdhvameshaha asyaiva vijnanamayasya jagrata swapnadyavastha sukha dukkha bhogaha. So here he says, from when did this begin? When did this sense of I begin? Anadikaloyam aham svabhavaha. This sense of I doesn't have a beginning. It is beginningless. When was my first birth, if I ask? The jiva is beginningless. Why? Because time only is not there at that time. That's only a contradiction to say. Time is not there at that time. But that's language limitation. So time only is not there because the buddhi, the product of buddhi is the time. And two thoughts have to rise, then time is the gap between the two thoughts. But jiva bhav is before two thoughts. So there is no time at that time. Now how to understand that? So if we say, at what time did I start dreaming? It is not possible to tell the time. You may say, no, Swamiji, it is possible nowadays with technology. You can put all the electrodes here and then measure the thought. That graph will come and then you can say, oh, now this person. That's the limitation of the example. So what we want to understand is that waker, when that waker is going into that dream state, the time of the waker is different, the time of dream is different. When that waker gets the identity, I am the dreamer, starts projecting the dream world, after the projection starts, only the dream characters and the dream time begin. But before that, the dreamer, when the identity is got that I am the dreamer, what is the time? There is no proper time there. So it is beginningless. So ayam svabhavaha. So when did the jiva begin? When did the jiva bhav begin? Beginningless time it is. Anadikaloyam aham svabhava. It is the intellect which goes on wanting to find when did this start, when did that begin, what is the cause of this. Now Gurudev used to say causation hunting is the preoccupation of the intellect. So it will go on finding the cause. So when it asks itself, what is the cause of this Jiva Bhav? The scriptures say there is no beginning. When did this start? No beginning. It is beginningless. Anadikaloyam aham swabhava. In human being, when one comes, then one starts recognizing this sense of I. But this sense of I otherwise has been there even in the earlier yonis. Only intelligently we don't know it. So only Manomaya Kosha is there, and through that one instinctively knows oneself. But one that cannot help in any ways. Only when one knows intelligently, consciously, then it is possible to overcome this limitation. So by itself, when it began the Jiva Bhav, it is beginningless. But the recognition of Jiva Bhav started when in human birth. When was the first human birth? Again, that we cannot explain. If one wants to do some past life regression, then one can go and find out. But otherwise, when was the first human birth? No idea. It was there sometime. So, anadikaloya maham swabhava. And then what happens? Jiva samasta vyavahara bodha. This Jiva is the one who is constantly carrying the burden of Jiva Bhav and doing all Vyavahara. Vyavahara bodha. So once I become the Jiva, like once one wakes up, one starts identifying with this body, then all the relationships of the body, then the transactions, the Vyavahar, all that will start. Till one was in the deep sleep, no Jiva Bhav, so there is no transaction. So the Jiva Bhav, the Karta Bhav, then the Bhokta Bhav. All this is because of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Vijnanamaya Kosha is active in the waking state. And so here he says, Jiva samasta vyavahara odha. You know how people have, when they go to work in some of the offices and companies, they will have an ID card. The name of that person is written on that. Designation, which department, all that. So each one as though is carrying one. Each of us are carrying, I am this Jiva, Mr. So and so. And then the Vyavahar is happening. So that pure consciousness which is infinite, identifying with one equipment, the Vijnanamaya Kosha of one equipment, gets the bhav that I am limited Jiva. So the ignorance of the self leads to alpatvam. Alpatvam means finitude. That alpatvam leads to Jiva bhav. Jiva bhav leads to karta bhav leads to bhokta bhav. This is the bondage. So that's how Vijnanamaya Kosha can bind. So karoti karmani api purva vasana. Now this Jiva bhav, when we said Jiva bhav leads to karta bhav. Karta bhav, that I am the doer. So the Jiva starts doing karmas. Now this is theory what I am saying. We don't operate in exactly this way, but this is the process. When we wake up, then we say, okay, I have to do this today, I have to meet this person, I have to go there. So karma starts. Why karma started? Because Jiva Bhav started. As long as that Jiva Bhav is there, then some desire will be there because I feel limited. Now I want to feel full, complete. So I am doing karma for that. So the sense of incompleteness, to remove that sense of incompleteness, I get up, start doing all types of karmas. So karoti karmani api. Now what is the prompting? Why is that person doing karma? To remove sense of incompleteness. That is one reason. Other is purva vasana. Specific type of karma, why is that jiva doing? Because carried forward from past life. Some vasana. So everybody is not doing the same type of karma. The tendency to do karma is common in all the jivas. But which karma who is doing specific to their vasana it is. The same karma somebody else will not even like to do. Because that vasana is not there. So karoti karmani api purva vasana. Because of past karma, one has carried forward. Actually, one has got the body to exhaust those karma phalas only. And that impression, that vasana, will make that jiva do the work. So karoti karmani api purva vasana. Punyanya punyani cha tat phalani. So now this punya and papa is very interesting. It is both karma and karma phala. Punya karma means good karmas, papa karma means bad karmas. So those karmas which are helping us to evolve. So broadly speaking, whatever karmas help us to evolve higher and higher, live higher values of life, live with more sensitivity, kindness, compassion, those are all punya karma. Those karmas which are leading us to devolution, going down, which hurt us, harm others, which are not up to the human dignity, which create more pain, sorrow, agitation, which are based on insensitivity, selfishness, those are all papa karmas. So now when the jiva has become karta, that karta will do this type of karma, punya and papa. So when punya and papa is done, then the result of that also will come. Then the person becomes the karta, then the person becomes bhokta. Cha tat phalani. And in the law of karma, it is very simple. Good result, good karmas give rise to good result. So punya karma will give rise to punya. Papa karma will give rise to papa. There is no mutual cancellation. Each one has to experience that particular result of that karma. If 10 good karmas are done, 6 bad karmas are done, one has to experience all the 16. There is no setting off that will happen. That only 4 good karmas are the balance, so one will experience that. No. And hence it is said that this is the jiva. Bhungte vichitra swapi yonishu vrajan. Now, to experience this karma phalas, vichitra swapi yonishu, in even strange yonis the jiva will go, not just human body. Because what type of karma one does to experience the result of that, one may need to take so many different bodies. So there is no guarantee that once a human being, always a human being. No. Any yoni one can take. From human being one can come down to some plant or some stone also. Even inert yoni one can go into. Or anything. Bird, insect, animal, anything. Not only these, even other yonis. Deva yoni, Aksha yoni, Gandharva yoni, Rakshas yoni. That's why the Vichitra su yonishu. Yonis which we won't even know sometimes. So 84 lakh species are there in this creation. So bhungte vichitra su api yonishu vrajan. Vrajan means to go. So it keeps going. According to its karma, it keeps going in different yonis, different lokas also. 7 higher worlds, 7 lower worlds. Ayanti, niryanti, adha, urdhva. That's what is the lokas. Comes and goes. Takes birth, goes through experiences, dies, again takes a new birth, goes through experiences, dies. And in all, adha means down, urdhva means up. So 7 worlds below, atala, vitala, sutala, rasatala, talatala, mahatala, patal, 7 worlds. And then 7 worlds above, bhuhu, bhuva, suva, maha, jana, tapa, satyam, 7 above. So in these 14 worlds, in 84 lakh species, this jiva now travels. Now imagine what is the permutation and combination. 84 lakh species can be in these 14 worlds. Of course, there are classifications, which yoni is in which world. Higher yonis are in higher worlds, lower yonis are in the lower worlds. When punya and papa is balanced, then we come on this earth. So that all those laws are there of karma. But for the jiva, this is called samsara. When we say samsara, it is not just the world outside. That is one meaning of the word. But actually in Vedanta, when it is said here, no, that he is samsara karanam. This samsara is transmigration, and this transmigration is in this 14 worlds, 84 yonis, 84 lakh yonis. And this jiva goes round and round and round. Asyaiva vijnanamayasya jagrat swapnadi avastha sukha dukkha bhogaha. And it is this vijnanamaya kosha which recognizes clearly the three states: waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. And then in that enjoys sukha and dukkha. Now, of course, the recognition of three states happens in the waking state only. In the dream state, Vijnanamaya Kosha as a buddhi is not available. And even in the deep sleep state, not available. But in the waking state, one recognizes that I am the... So this is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and the Vijnanamaya Kosha recognizes these are the three states: waking, dream, deep sleep. But the Jiva Bhav that we say, when we say the Vijnanamaya Kosha is not there in the waking, in the dream and deep sleep, but Jiva Bhav is there. Dream state also Jiva Bhav is there, so the Jiva is projecting the dream world. In deep sleep state, of course, Jiva Bhav, as we know in waking and dream, is not there. It is dormant, but it is still unmanifest, it is there. So this is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Identified with it, consciousness which is infinite appears to have become finite, and having become the Jiva, now is going round and round in this 84 lakh species. You know, one of the disciples of Shankaracharya ji, one a great disciple of Shankaracharya ji, is Sureshwaracharya ji. So Sureshwaracharya ji said a very nice thing, that when the body dies, minimum 4 people are required to carry this body. But right now, this one fool is identified this with body and carrying it around. When a person dies, minimum 4 people are required to carry this. But right now, when it is living, this one fool, I am this Jiva Bhav, this one fool is carrying this body around everywhere. That is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So, in the world also, whatever progress has happened because of Vijnanamaya Kosha. The ability of this buddhi to distinguish, to explore, to find the cause and effect, to chart out uncharted territory, new things, inventions, all that is because of buddhi. But from spiritual standpoint, so it is just one aspect of this Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is having this special ability. But it has the bondage aspect also, that this is what is binding the jiva. So when a disciple is asking Kosavan Atma, Paramakka Atma, then this Vijnanamaya Kosha is not the supreme Atma, because it is limiting the Atma. When the jiva has understood this life in this samsara, that is the Atma Anatma Vivek. That no matter how much I achieve through this Vijnanamaya Kosha, I am still jiva, I am still limited. And I have to go through so many cycles of birth and death, so many yonis, so many lokas. And in every karma, every yoni, then I go on exhausting sukha and dukkha, and then again come to human yoni, and then again add karmas in that, again be born. So this cycle, when one has thought through properly and one says, now enough I have had, that is called Vairagya. When Vairagya, we saw the definition earlier, it was said that no craving for sense pleasure here and hereafter. That conviction that I have had enough now, I want to realize my true self. I don't want to be sorrowful, miserable. And the cause of misery is this Jiva Bhav, limited, finitude. So the Jiva who understands this, that Jiva wants to get out, that Jiva has Vivek and Vairagya. So this Vijnanamaya Kosha is responsible for both. All our progress in samsara, achievement, success, relationships, All that is because of Vijnanamaya Kosha. But at the same time, from spiritual standpoint, that is what is binding me. In the sense, the Jiva Bhava is binding me. The sense of strong individuality, that is what binding me. That when I want to get out of, then that Vivek Vairagya, that is the liberating part. Then that intellect will awaken all these through satsang, sattva guna, and get liberated. Now both these Vijnanamaya Kosha as a Kosha is doing. What is Atma doing? Witness of both. Atma is neither bound nor it gets liberated. Jiva Bhav is because of the appearance. Like the sun above is never bound by any of the pots. The reflection appears to be conditioned in the pots. The sun is not bound. In the same way, Atma is that which is unbound. So this Vijnanamaya Kosha, this is the way to understand it and then negate it also. That who is going through these cycles of birth and death is the Jiva. Atma is the Sakshi in every single birth, in every single yoni. Atma doesn't do anything. But only in the human yoni, through Vijnanamaya Kosha, can one understand that I am this pure consciousness, I am not this body, mind and intellect. Hence, Vijnanamaya Kosha is a very, very important kosha. And the cause of liberation is this Vijnanamaya Kosha. Now, the negation of that. So every kosha we are following that pattern. Understand what is that kosha, what is the function of that kosha, and then why this is not the Atma. So 188. Dehadinishtha shrama dharma karma gunabhimanam satatam mameti vijnana kosho yamati prakashaha prakrishta sanidhya vashat paratmanaha ato bhavatyesha upadhirasya yadatmadhi samsarati brahmena. So the negation of this Vijnanamaya Kosha is done not like the other koshas, but it is done by this very understanding that Atma reflecting in this is the Jiva, hence Vijnanamaya Kosha is not the Atma. In other koshas, we contrasted the qualities of the Atma with that kosha. So when we say body, so Annamaya Kosha is not Atma. Why? Because body is made up of filth, dirt, bone, marrow, all that. It is inert. And this Atma is purest of the pure. So the contrary. Same way we did with Pranamaya Kosha also. That these 5 pranas, they come, they go, they are changing, they are inert. Atma is opposite of that. Same way we did with one Manomaya Kosha. That Manomaya Kosha, yesterday we saw how this Manomaya Kosha, 5 reasons why this Manomaya Kosha is not the Atma. So in each kosha, we contrasted the quality of the kosha with Atma. In Vijnanamaya Kosha, we are not contrasting in that sense, but what is one saying? Vijnanamaya Kosha makes the infinite Atma appear as the finite Jiva, and that becomes the cause of transmigration. So Vijnanamaya Kosha is not the Atma. So that's what he says. Dehadinishtha, ashrama dharma karma, guna abhimanam satatam. So identified with this Vijnanamaya Kosha, this further identification happens with the body, then ashrama, which stage of life? Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. So that Jiva further identifies itself with one of the stages depending on the age of the body. Dehadinishtha, ashrama dharma. Then according to that, the karma of that particular ashram. As a student, I have to study. As a householder, I have to work, take care of the family, society. Like that. Ashrama dharma karma. And then guna. According to the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. What are the qualities of, what is the combination in that individual? Abhimanam. There is this false identification. So all these actually belong to the body, to the jiva, but this Vijnanamaya Kosha considers itself as that individual, jiva. Is Atma reflecting in it, that Chidabhasa identifies with all these and thinks of itself as this. Satatam mameti, this is all mine. So it falsely identifies with it. Vijnana Koshoyam Ati Prakasha. But this Vijnanamaya Kosha is extremely brilliant. Why? Because the consciousness is reflecting in it. By itself, it doesn't have any light of its own. So the mirror doesn't have a light of its own. But when there is a reflection of the sun in the mirror, and that is tilted in a particular angle and put in a room which is dark, then that whole dark room will get illuminated. The light is not coming from the mirror. The light is actually coming from the sun, but the mirror is the reflecting medium, which then when we tilt it in a particular way, the room gets illuminated. The same thing, the buddhi is closest to the Atma, able to reflect, and it becomes brilliant. So it is the brilliance of the Atma which is reflecting through this buddhi. That's why he says Ati Prakasha. Vijnana Koshoyam Ati Prakasha. This Vijnanamaya Kosha is extremely brilliant. It has a reflection of consciousness. And if it has much more Sattva Guna, then it will be much more brilliant. Because Sattva Guna has that special ability of reflecting more. So it's like the mirror whose surface is clean, polished, will reflect so much more brilliantly. The mirror which has dust in it, now the reflection will be dim, that is Rajoguna. And that mirror which is completely covered with, let us say, black color or some smoke, charcoal, whatever, then the reflection will not even be seen. So this Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, that three gunas, they determine the quality of the buddhi and then the reflection quality. So somebody appears as a saint, somebody appears as a restless person, somebody appears as a lazy, lethargic person, somebody is a criminal. It's all the quality of this Vijnanamaya Kosha. Atma is reflecting is same in all of them. Hence, this is the negation, that all this is happening because of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Atma is separate. So by saying that Vijnanamaya Kosha yam ati prakasha, prakrishta sanidhya vashad paratmana. It is the closest to Atma. By saying it is closest to Atma, the negation is done. That it is not the Atma. Atma is reflecting in it, it is not the Atma. Now we may say, but Swamiji, closest to the Atma is Anandamaya Kosha. No doubt, closest to the Atma is Anandamaya Kosha, but that Anandamaya Kosha is experienced by us in the exclusive state in deep sleep. And in deep sleep, we cannot discriminate, the Jiva Bhava is not there, so negation cannot happen, bondage also is not there. So if you actually see in this Vivek Chudamani, only 4 koshas are negated. Because consciously only 4 koshas can be negated. When I wake up, then with my Vijnanamaya Kosha, with my buddhi, I may infer of Anandamaya Kosha and negate it, saying that Anandamaya Kosha also is not the Atma because it is a layer. Everything becomes unmanifest and then there is only ignorance in that state. So one is closest to the Atma, so it is blissful. Now, but that is the state where this is not known consciously. So the Vivek Chudamani doesn't negate Anandamaya Kosha consciously because it's not possible to negate like that. But it negates it separately by making us aware of Anandamaya Kosha, what it is, how it is different from the Atma, that it makes us aware. But what the student has to do in the waking state, this Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. If I negate these 4, Anandamaya will automatically get negated. Why? Because if I drop the Jiva Bhav through contemplation, that avidya will get dropped. Over it is. So, Prakrishta Sanidhya. Prakrishta means close, closest. Prakrishta Sanidhya, the company of it. So, Vijnanamaya Kosha is closest in the company of this Atma, which means the Atma is reflecting in it. That's what it means. Sanidhya Vashat Paratmanaha. So if somebody is, if we give an example, if let us say somebody is a very successful, brilliant person, the people who are close to that person also get some glory. Oh, this person is close to such a brilliant person. The glory is actually reflected glory. It is the glory of that person who is brilliant. But if you are close to that person, you interact with that person on a regular basis, that person's confident you are, then you also get this glory that, you know, this person is so great, is close to such and such person. So it's like that. Vijnanamaya Kosha is appearing so great because of the proximity of Atma. So Prakrishta Sanidhya Vashat Paratmana. Ato Bhavatyesha Upadhirasya. Hence, this Vijnanamaya Kosha is only the Upadhi, an equipment in which Atma is reflecting. It is not the Atma. So again, by saying this, the negation has happened. Yadatmadhi samsarati brahmena. Now, identifying with this Upadhi, then this, because of delusion, the self suffers. So Vijnanamaya Kosha is only a superimposition. Identified with it, the self goes round and round and round. Samsarati brahmena. So now this is the negation of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So four koshas are negated. And as I said, Anandamaya gets negated by steady contemplation. One understands, I am not this pure conscious, I am not this jiva, I am this pure consciousness. That part will come later on. When we go ahead, we will see that. Now one comes to this part, that Atma, how it is unattached. Kosavanatma, Paramakka Atma, Tayor Viveka. So how to distinguish between these two, Atma and Anatma. So now this comes here. Yoyam Vijnanamaya Praneshu Hridhi Spuratyayam Jyotihi Kutastha Sannatma Karta Bhokta Bhavatyupadhisthaha. Is actually a continuation. It is a repetition of the earlier aspect. Yoyam Vijnanamaya, this Vijnanamaya, Praneshu Hridhi Spuratyayam Jyotihi. So this Atma identifying with this Vijnanamaya Kosha shines within the pranas in the heart. So means this Atma identifying with Vijnanamaya Kosha further identifies with Pranamaya Kosha, which identifies with the Annamaya body. And it is where it is experienced, it is experienced in one's own heart as aham, 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 I. Spurati ayam jyotihi. Spurati means this aham spurana, it is called. The feeling of I that we have, this feeling of I is what we say self-awareness. Spurati ayam jyotihi. But who is this Atma actually? This Atma identifying with the Vijnanamaya Kosha has become this small jiva, Mr. So-and-so. But actually that Atma is Kutastha San Atma. It is immutable, changeless, imperishable, pure consciousness, Atma. But it has assumed identity. Karta, Bhokta, Bhavati, Upadhistha. It has become Karta, Bhokta because of Upadhistha. Upadhistha means identified with the Upadhi, with the Buddhi. So what was said earlier, no? The reflected consciousness, that is the example here. That this infinite, immutable, changeless, pure Brahman, when it identifies with this Atma, has become the Karta and Bhokta. So one has to separate this. That's the Viveka. That Atma is unattached, changeless, pure consciousness, infinite. Atma is akarta, abhokta. But this Atma reflecting in the buddhi gets as though the opposite qualities. Atma as though becomes karta, becomes a bhokta, becomes vikari, becomes changing. But Atma is never like that. So the example given for that is Ayapindavat, the iron and the fireball. So this fireball is dull, iron is dull. It is dark, it is heavy. These are qualities of the iron. And when that iron ball is put into fire, it remains there for quite some time. The fire which is formless, which is hot, which is bright and brilliant, that fire appears to have taken a form. So it becomes round. So fire appears to have become round, iron appears to have become brilliant. Iron appears to have become bright. This is called mutual superimposition, anyonya adhyasa. But the fact is, if we see clearly and let it be for some time, it will go back to its own true nature. Iron will become dull, it will become cool, it will become heavy, dark, it will come back to it. So that's the nature of that iron. And fire will be again formless. So in that same way here, these two have got mixed up. But the thing is, even when they are mixed up, Atma is not affected. Like, that's why the better example is of the sun and the reflection. Even when the sun is appearing to be bound in that pot, it is actually separate. It is unaffected, unattached. So in me there is this Atma which is reflecting in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and that Vijnanamaya Kosha appears to have made the Atma finite through Jiva Bhav, Karta and Bhokta, but Atma still remains unattached, and that is what is the Vivek. So that's where we stop for now. Alpaji, you had a question, you can ask. You can unmute and ask the question. Haji.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, regarding I'm trying to understand the mechanics of Papa and Punya Karma.
Yeah.
While it's easier to understand Punya Karma, it's difficult when Papa Karma expressed, like when you have some strong negative vasanas that are expressing. Is it possible to escape the Papa? I don't have to, if it's right to say Papa Vasana or Papa Karma through sadhana or vivek, or does our punya karma allow us to be aware of them and accept them and try not to identify with them? I don't know how, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm understanding the question. Right. So, see, first and foremost, one is that the Papa Vasana which is there, that will manifest as desire, thought, then action. So when it manifests as a desire, now it always depends on the intensity of that karma. If that intensity of that karma is not very strong, through my vivek, I can cut it out in the mind itself, and it will go by repeated vivek. So if I am continuously being prompted, let us say, to engage in something which is harmful to me. Suppose, let us say a simple example, I want to drink. I want to go on drinking, and I know that as a seeker it will make me tamasic, it will reduce my vivek. I don't want to drink, but the tendency of the past is there. So it will first manifest as a desire. If the tendency is weak enough, then through constant vivek and purushartha, I can negate it. So vasana is still manifesting, because to exhaust that karma only we have taken this form. So we have vasana is still manifesting as a desire. Through vivek shakti, that desire I can counteract and it can be removed. If it is very strong, it will manifest further as impulsiveness in me, and then it will push me to drink. There also I can still through sadhana control. And suppose I am drinking, let us say, every single day, then I can through sadhana still control and say that no, not today, tomorrow. I can delay it. I can do it 2 times a week, 3 times a week. And eventually through this kind of purusharth, by proper thinking, by proper self-control, by having a higher purpose, I can actually transform my personality. Because if that is not possible, then no transformation is possible. So vasana will manifest. The difference between the seeker and the other person is what? They become victim of their vasanas and they further strengthen the vasana. For a seeker, whatever karma one has done in the past, papa karma is there, so papa vasana will manifest. But through sadhana, one has to counteract that. That is called purusharth. So it will still manifest. And one has to eliminate it through this process of sadhana. Through proper vivek, self-control, all that.
Okay, so I have one more question based on what you just said.
Yeah.
So there's some, so this is basically now trying to understand what a dull intellect is. So if you have a criminal intellect, that means do they never have a chance of knowing what they're doing is wrong?
No. So nobody's intellect is only a criminal intellect. People have a mixture of good and bad. Even the most so-called criminal-minded person will have some goodness. Some, in minimum quantity it may be there, but some feeling, emotion, kindness, goodness, it will still be there. That is one part. Second aspect is the very fact that one has got a human birth. That itself is a blessing of the Lord. We saw in the beginning in the Vivek Chudamani. Human body itself is a great blessing of Bhagavan. And Bhagavan's grace actually will bring some satsang in the life of the person. So it is not that they don't have any chance. Everybody has a chance to transform. Bhagavan brings according to whatever their karma as well as Bhagavan's grace. The situations will come whereby they get a wake-up call also. They get satsang. Sometimes even hard hits of life can wake up a person. So the opportunities are always provided by the Lord for the person to transform. And in human body, that is specifically possible because of the buddhi. One can transform. Otherwise, how will a person like Ratnakar transform into Valmiki? From such a criminal mind to a greatest saint, transformation is possible because Bhagavan's grace is there. Narad Rishi comes, he gets the wake-up call, and then he takes it and he reflects on it and starts doing the japa, all that. So it is possible. Chances will always be there. Nobody is a gone case in our culture.
Okay, I get these questions rise up in study groups, and particularly with reference to terrorism, and when they say they're doing it for a higher cause.
See, they may say they are doing it for a higher cause, but what is determining the higher cause? There is a universal value that determines what is the higher cause, right? Universal values like love, peace, honesty, compassion, kindness, those determine what is the higher cause, not what is the individual alone thinking. If live and let live, that is a basic aspect. Now, the terrorist is brainwashed to think that what they are doing is for a higher purpose, but that is not a fact. So that doesn't determine it's a higher purpose. What determines its higher purpose is the universality of the values and how that person is following that. Because killing oneself and killing others, there is no higher purpose in that. Especially when it is done with this motive that to harm. It is not even done in self-defense like an army soldier. Again, people have this confusion. They say, what is the difference between army soldier and terrorist? There is a big difference. The motive, the intention It all matters.
Thank you.
हाँ जी, दीप्ति जी.
Hariom Swamiji, I wanted to ask a question that when we die, when we leave this body, what is the quality of the Vijnanamaya Kosha which carries on for so many births together? Why can't the Vijnanamaya Kosha also drop with this birth?
It won't drop because the law of karma is simple. That whatever karma I have done, I have to face the result of that. I am the karta, so I am the bhokta. And as a karta, whatever karma I have done, that has to produce a result, and I have to be there to experience that result. Because if we say that why can't this drop, then the karma phala won't come while we are living only. Because the law cannot be one for living and one after death. It is the same law. Karta is the bhokta. And so karma gives result, not everything in the same life. No? So many karmas will give result in different time periods. Now to experience that, I have to continue. The Jiva Bhav will still be there. So the Jiva Bhav can be dropped only through contemplation on Brahman, that I am pure consciousness. Then Jiva Bhav goes, then Karta goes, and Bhukta goes. So for the Jivan Mukta, no new karmas are there. So the Jivan Mukta doesn't have a rebirth. But everybody else has, because the Karta Bhav is very strong. And then they do the karma.
But the Vasanas are in the Anandamaya Kosha, na?
Vasanas are not in Anandamaya Kosha. Vasanas are, we say, Anandamaya Kosha is the ignorant. Vasana is in the causal body.
Okay.
And causal body is manifesting in the gross and subtle states also.
Okay.
Gross body, subtle body are the expressions of causal body. So it is not that causal body is only experienced in deep sleep or only in the Anandamaya Kosha. No.
So births after births, the way I think will be the same unless I make a conscious effort to change.
Correct.
Do sadhanas.
That is the Purusharth.
Purusharth.
It won't be the same exactly, because once a certain karma is exhausted, I am transformed. Again, some new karma comes. So that will, according to my karma, will be my quality. It won't be the same exactly, because karmas keep changing.
Okay.
Like when we say karma, we only think action outside, but no. Vasana manifests as desire, then manifests as thought, then manifests as action. That is the whole process of manifestation. So when that gets over, new vasana starts. So the texture of that may be same or different. So according to that, the thought will be different. So my thinking won't be same in every birth.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji, and thank you for taking the class from 7 to 8. It really helped us. Gratitude for that, Swamiji.
Welcome. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.